Now, some people might say, well, this is my religion. This is not our religion. This is a religion that we follow.
Mm-hmm.
Or some people might say, um, my prophet, or I mean, a prophet is not your prophet.
Mm-hmm.
You might follow that prophet. It's like a commander in army. It's not your commander. If
Mm-hmm.
somebody else joins you, that group of people, So a person is there to guide. Now, if anyone finds that interesting, it's like a class that you find it interesting and you join, right?
Mm-hmm.
So neither Jesus was for Christian people only, nor Moses for Jewish people only, nor Prophet Muhammad was for Muslim people
This is
only.
very nice. Yeah.
So if I want to be a Christian and I'm a Jew, or if I'm a Muslim and I want to be a Jew, it's my choice because God gave me the ability, right? Now, but I have to see which one is what, and I have to study this, and I have to know what's the differences and what's the best way, what is the way to survive.
I think what's specifically interesting about the Muslim religion compared to the Christian religion is that Christians absolutely hold that there's this Old Testament from
Right.
the Jews,
Mm-hmm.
and they include that in their book.
In their book.
And what you're saying is that the Muslims, in addition to studying the Quran, they accept that there are useful things being said in the Old Testament and New Testament because they were prophets also.
Yes, we say if we find that original Bible or original Torah, we totally accept it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, as you said, there were people.
Oh boy, it's a man-made object.
Okay.
That's. But I think what your tradition is that
right.
Muhammad is not the only prophet, and I think that's
Of
very
course.
very nice.
Of course.
To admit that there's
right. There's variety. There's different prophets.
Mm-hmm.
But why God sent different prophets to people in different periods of time for all people, not for a group of people? Right. Some people misunderstand this, that Muhammad was for Arab people, or or whatever. Like, let's say Jesus was only in, they were, or all prophets were only in one location. So what about Africa? What about China?
Yeah.
Okay. A prophet is for all human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And a prophet is not someone to follow, but it's actually a way to follow the God, a way to connect to God.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to know what God tells us, what we need to believe, or what's the best way to do. The same way that a city needs a red light to stop and a green light to move on.
Yeah.
The same way that a city needs a post office to be, helping people, or basically let's focus on rules. Same way that a city has police officers. We need to have rules in our life, because if we're living together as a society, we're not by ourselves. Human beings are like some animals that live together. If we live together, then, and we have different ideas and we have ability to choose between things, then it's gonna make a big conflict if there are not rules.
Right.
If you look at a society that doesn't believe in God or anything else, as far as mental things, they make their own rules. They make police officers. That's why we have these rules. For that reason, I would say, if you're trying to believe in a religion, we need to first distinguish in between and see which one is what, and study them, and then see the reason why there was different prophets after each other in different periods of time, and what do they say.
I think this is a good time to point out what Karen Armstrong says, because at the time of Muhammad, Jews and Christians would come to cities for trading, and they would be talking about their books. And they have this wonderful word, taunt. I don't know if you use this word, but it's, you make fun of somebody, and also you attack them with your mouth, like with verbally. You're saying, yeah, I'd expect that from some non-believer who doesn't have a book. We have a book, but you people, you worship this Hubal? What was... she's saying that there was this guy, that there was the Kaaba, and at the time, some people would come and do a Hajj, but it was to worship some other gods. I mean, that's what she's saying in the book. Before Muhammad, there was this tradition already of walking around.
Yes, so first let me mention that Kaaba was there from, who made it?
Is it Abraham?
Abraham made the Kaaba with his son.
Okay.
He built it.
He built it.
And then it was, because Prophet Muhammad's religion, which is Islam, is very similar to Prophet Abraham's.
Right.
And actually, before he becomes a prophet, he was not a Christian. He was following Prophet Abraham's religion.
Oh, okay.
Right. They would call him Nasrani at that time. Nasrani people were following. And now in the society that he lived, there were people who worshipped statues. So they would build something and they would worship them.
Oh, the statues.
Right.
So was that part of the Nasrani?
Nasrani, right. Okay. Nasrani people believed in or followed Prophet Abraham. And that's why, as you said, Islam is when you surrender, you said, right?
Surrender.
Right. Is that whatever God says, you accept.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Now, you have to see what God says, but you have to know where you get that word from.
Right.
You don't get it from people.
The Nasrani, they didn't have this belief.
Yeah, Nasrani people were the ones who followed Abraham. And Abraham is one of the greatest prophets that really was surrendered to God, was really focused, and in really hard situations, he would never do other than what God says.
Oh, yeah, this whole thing. So you know about the story, he was going to kill his son.
Oh, this is in Quran.
This is in the Quran.
This is in the Quran.
Right. And so this guy really believes what he hears.
Yeah. God said, I want you to suffer your son, kill your son for me. And
the ultimate sacrifice.
Right, and that was the only child they had after years that his wife, also his wife is very famous to be a surrender, that she accepted. She said, if God says that, go ahead.
Boy.
And that time, I hope the story is the same as that the knife will not cut his head.
Oh, I hadn't heard about that. See, in our tradition, he raises the knife, and if he brings his arm down, the son will be dead. And in that moment, he hears a lamb caught in the bush.
Right. I am not saying this according exactly to Quran. Either he was trying to cut his head, or he was trying to kill him.
And it was stopped.
It was stopped, and then yes, God will send a sheep or a goat to be sacrificed instead.
So this was the Nasranis. They believed in one God.
No, well, this is the same God we're talking. We're talking about God, which we call it Allah. You call it God.
Right.
In other languages, but this is the same God we're talking about. That He sent different prophets down.
Okay.
So if you're Nasrani, you're following Prophet Abraham's religion.
And so they built this box, which it's called the
out of
Kaaba.
Stone. The Kaaba, we call it the house of God, as a symbol.